These videos were created for you to watch along. They'll teach you about ClientTrack so you know what's going on. So best of luck with all of your data. Now here's your HMIS system administrator. In this training video, we'll be going over how to do an exit workflow on a client. This is the way that you would exit a client from your project once they are no longer in it. So the first thing you'd want to do would be to pull up your client. You can either use the Find Client option here in the top left. You could search their name here in the global search bar. Or if you're on the Home tab, you could actually look at your current enrollments, select the project from here, and then select the client by clicking on that icon. So regardless of how you get to it, once you have your client pulled up, you'll see a blue action button beside the particular enrollment that we're wanting to do the exit on. We want to click on that, and then we want to hit exit the enrollment. Somewhere where people get confused is there is an option to delete enrollment. You would never want to delete the enrollment unless that client was never enrolled in that project, and so they were just enrolled incorrectly. That's the only reason why that option is there. So for the majority of the time, exit the enrollment is the option that you would want to choose here. So the first question here is going to say what's the exit date. So if this is the actual date they exited, it will default to today. Then you're good to leave that. If not, maybe they exited a few days ago and you're just now getting around to keying it into the system, then you can go ahead and choose that date here by clicking on that calendar icon. Next question is going to be destination. I definitely recommend that you get familiar with these different destinations, as some of them are closely related, but they are different. And so as you get more familiar with it, you will be able to record the most accurate destination for your client. So something I will just point out here, staying or living with family temporary and staying or living with friends temporary is one option, or is two options you have here. If you scroll down, there's also staying or living with family or friends permanent. So those are two totally different destinations. One is just temporary, one is permanent. There is other options as well, deceased, if someone passed away while in your project, and then a lot of other different options. So again, get familiar with these so that you can record what's most accurate here. Also, a unique option here is no exit interview complete. This is a little different than all the rest of them. If you select this option, there will actually not be any further assessment questions asked through this workflow. Reason being, if you choose this, this would be the option if a client has just disappeared and you do not know any of the information on them as they are leaving. So again, once you choose that and we hit save, this would go ahead and in the exit assessment or exit workflow, there wouldn't be any assessment questions following. So for training purposes, we are going to go ahead and choose a particular location that they are going to so that we can see the full workflow of exiting a client. Next question here, for this particular project, it's not required that we include an exit reason, but you can record the exit reason here if you would like. So we're going to say this client completed the program. End case assignment. If that's left checked like that, that just goes ahead and ends the case assignment for whatever case manager this client was assigned to. If you uncheck this, it's not going to not exit them. They will still get exited. They would just still be assigned to a particular case manager. We'll go ahead and click save on this. At this point, the client would show exited from the system. However, there are some exit assessments we need to do so that we don't have missing data. And so you want to continue through this workflow and answer those questions. So the first one here is going to be the health insurance question. Now something that'll save you some time while doing an exit is you have this default last insurance status, and this is a button that you will see on several of the forms as we exit people. What this will do is bring in the answers from the previous time we assessed this client, whether that was the intake or maybe an annual assessment. But then it will give you an opportunity to change that. So for instance, if we said, well, now they do have health insurance, we would go ahead and choose yes and choose which one that is. And then that would be a positive for your project because you'd be able to say see that they came in without health insurance, and now as they are leaving, they do have health insurance. So we'll go ahead and click save on that. This will bring up the barriers page. It's automatically going to pull in what particular barriers you had selected on the last assessment. So here's where we would be able to modify this. And again, we're not actually modifying or editing the original intake assessment that we completed. This is just doing a separate assessment that's just tied to the exit so that we can see the difference between the two. We can go ahead and do save and close on that. And then income is going to be the same way. Using the default last assessment button is going to save you a lot of time by filling in this information. But again, we don't want to just do default last assessment and go save and close without looking over this information and then verifying with the client that this information is still accurate. So for instance, if maybe they have a job now, we would be able to go ahead and record that here as well. Make sure they're still getting these benefits for these same amounts. You can update the amounts. Maybe they're getting more here. And then we go ahead and do save and close when that's accurate. Now, because this was a family, so there were more than one person enrolled in this project, it's now going to ask if we also want to exit the other family member. So what this does is this gives you an option if maybe you have an enrollment where one person is exiting the project but another is staying, you could leave that other person still in the project. For training purposes, we will go ahead and we'll say no, that we're going to leave this other person in the project. And we will click finish. And once you get to the finish, you can pretty much guarantee yourself that you have answered all the exit assessment questions, you haven't skipped any. It'll take you back to the dashboard. Here we can see that for our client here, Catherine, they do have an exit date, so they are indeed exited. Also, a couple helpful tips here. If you exited somebody by accident and needed to get rid of that, if you were to click the blue action button beside their enrollment and click re-enter the enrollment, as long as it's been within the last 90 days that they've been exited, you can do that and it will just get rid of the exit. So it's like they never exited before. So something to know about there. Also, if you need to update the exit information, maybe you chose the wrong date for the exit, maybe you chose the wrong destination, the way you update the exit is just go back to exit the enrollment even though they've already been exited, and then it will give you an opportunity to modify that information. Hit save. And then it would continue to walk through the workflow. At this point, because we've already made the change we need to, it would be safe to cancel the workflow. Also, I forgot to mention while doing the exit, because it is a standard workflow, just like when we do an intake, there is a pause button there. So at any point while you're doing an exit, you can pause the workflow. If you need to go pull up a different client or you're heading out for the day and you're not going to be able to finish it, and then once it's paused, you can go to pause workflows and then resume that. So that is how to exit a client. Hopefully it has been informational and has made sense. As always, if you have any issues, click the help icon, submit a ticket.